This is a special Walker Cup episode. The Back of the Range Golf Podcast will introduce you to the finest amateur golfers in the United States. Some have competed in major championships, others have won USGA titles, and many have been named All-Americans. The one thing they all have in common? They all want to be one of 10 men chosen to represent their country at the 47th Walker Cup matches at Royal Liverpool Golf Club. This is the Road to Hoylake, presented by AmateurGolf.com. And now your host, Ben Adelberg.
And welcome back to the Road to Hoylake, presented by AmateurGolf.com. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. It's finally here. This is U.S. Amateur Week. The finest amateurs in the world kick off the stroke play portion of the tournament today. 18 holes on Pinehurst number 2, another 18 on Pinehurst number 4, with the low 64 advancing to match play. This is the final tournament before the U.S. Walker Cup team is selected, so it will be very interesting to see how the Walker Cup team hopefuls fare at Pinehurst. So while you're following the U.S. Amateur, the Road to Hoylake will give you some backstory on some of the best American amateurs vying for a spot on the Walker Cup team. Just a quick reminder to you all, our friends at AmateurGolf.com are providing incredible coverage this week from Pinehurst for the U.S. Amateur, but they cover the amateur side of the game each and every week. Scores, articles, schedules, commentary, everything. So go to their website, AmateurGolf.com, enter the code BOTR, and you'll get a free 90-day trial on that site. So go check that out. No credit card needed, none of that stuff. It's free. BOTR is the code. On to our guests on this episode of the Road to Hoylake. Pierceson Coody from Texas and the recent graduate and national champion from Stanford, Isaiah Salinda. Pierceson and his twin brother Parker helped lead Texas to the national championship final match, along with the other freshman phenom on the team, number 1 ranked amateur in the world, Cole Hammer. Pierceson won the Trans-Miss Championship this year and is the number 14th ranked American in the World Amateur Golf Rankings. He's had top 20 finishes in the Northeast and the North and South Amateur this summer. He's in a great position to grab a spot on the team with a deep run at the USAM. The national championship match between Texas and Stanford was tight, and Stanford benefited from their seniors Brandon Wu and Isaiah Salinda. You'll hear more from Brandon later this week before the Road to Hoylake series concludes. Actually, I did speak to both of them earlier this year on episode 73. The link to that episode is available in the show notes of this episode, so if you want additional information on Brandon and Isaiah, I recommend checking that out. Isaiah had tremendous success in the U.S. Amateur last year at Pebble Beach by reaching the semifinals. Isaiah is the number 19th ranked amateur in the world and had a solid finish at the Pac Coast Amateur where he was the defending champion. Before we get to these conversations, just some quick housekeeping here. Remember, subscribe in Apple Podcast and Spotify to get the latest episodes in this series. Follow along on social media. All the links to our social media channels are available at thebackoftherange.com. And now, just like we've done in every other episode in this series, let's welcome back Julie Williams, managing editor at AmateurGolf.com, to get some additional thoughts about these two American hopefuls. Julie, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm coming down from the women's AM and about to go right back up for the USAM.
Exactly. So it's just all USGA all the time for you right now.
That's right.
So it is. We are here. It's Monday, August 12th. This is the first day of stroke play leading into the US Amateur at Pinehurst. It's a big ask and a big question, but if you had to go with the top thing you're really curious about seeing today in stroke play, with two courses, you got the 2 and the 4. What's one of the key things that you're focusing in on the first day of stroke play today?
So I think in the first day of stroke play, the first day of any USGA event, the first day of any tournament, you can't win it, but you can really put yourself in a bad position. So I'm looking to see how these courses sort of separate the field, who might have, a really terrible day and that I might not be expecting, that makes it really hard for them to get themselves up into that top 64. But I talked to the U.S. Mid-Am runner-up, Brett Boner, last week, and he said something really smart and I liked. It's that, you don't really have to play fantastic golf in the first 2 rounds. You got to play passable golf to get into that top 64, and then it resets. But patience is the word of the day for the first round, I would say.
Obviously, this is a guy that's been there and made a really deep run in the USGA championship. I think the other fascinating thing about the U.S. Amateurs that you see all walks of life. You're going to see the junior studs like, Akshay Bhatia and Ricky Castillo. You're going to see the established mid-ams like, Stuart Hagestad and Skip Berkmeyer and, Scott Harvey. And then you'll see some 14-year-old kid from somewhere get in, and then a 60-year-old that'll get in. I mean, it's all walks. Can you maybe tell a story about someone that you met in your time at the U.S. Amateurs throughout your experience with AmateurGolf.com that maybe just is a story that's really kind of stuck with you over the last several years?
That's a good point you make about there are so many age brackets covered and experience levels covered. I mean, there's 3 guys over the age of 56 who are going to play this tournament next week. So I'll start there in that 56-year-old category. Jeff Wilson, who won the U.S. Senior Amateur last year. He's a California guy. He is a guy who it's like, especially if he gets on a match play bracket, he's just sneaky good and he just doesn't miss shots. So he is longer than you would expect him to be too. I mean, he played the first couple of rounds last year next to Noah Goodwin, who was an SMU player who's a past champion at the U.S. Junior.
Yeah.
And he's like next to Noah Goodwin. He is driving it comparably. So you can't look at the older guys and say, oh, well, they're giving up so much length. But they have all of this experience. And if they are, able to, they're probably able to hit some shots that the younger guys either, don't have yet or aren't as comfortable with, and just are able to look at it more calmly. I mean, Jeff Wilson is not a guy who is thinking, gosh, I really would like to get on that Walker Cup team this week,
Right.
So that's out of the picture. So that's the really fascinating part of this. I think somebody else, it's just, you're right that maybe the older, more experienced players are just a little more interesting to look at. How about Garrett Rank coming into this thing, having won the Western Amateur? That's wild to me because I think those are super comparable tournaments in the fact that the best amateurs in the world are in both of those fields. So you can't say that, I wouldn't say that the Western Amateur is in any weaker of a field. It's a smaller field. It's not any more, it's not an easier golf course. So I think those are 2 really comparable experiences. The question is, could you do something like that, twice in 3 weeks? That I would think that endurance really would come into play there.
It's going to be very interesting to see all the stories, and there's always a story that shakes out and someone that comes out of nowhere. So I think that's one of the intriguing parts of the U.S. Amateur, where you get to actually wait and see what happens and who makes match play. We'll definitely continue to talk throughout the week and throughout the U.S. Amateur, so I look forward to our conversations there. I want to get your thoughts on the 2 guests in this episode here on the Road to Hoylake series, Pierceson Coody out of Texas and Isaiah Salinda, just a recent graduate from Stanford University. They definitely have a history. Both of their teams met in the national championship last year, with Stanford coming on top 3-2 in the final match play. Talk to me about the freshman Pierceson Coody of Texas and also the outgoing senior Isaiah Salinda of Stanford.
I'll start with Coody. He was part of a really tough Texas freshman class that included his twin brother, Parker, and Cole Hammer. And I think when the NCAAs ended, even though Texas did not come out on top, a lot of people are looking at this team going, well, you're bringing back these 3 freshmen. You're bringing in a strong player in Travis Vick. So Texas looks really tough next year. So I think we're going to hear a lot more about Texas and the Coody brothers. But being one in a twins, having a twin growing up and a twin that plays the same sport. I was talking to another of Coody's Texas teammates this summer at the Sunny Hannah, and he said, those guys, the Coodys are just relentless. They just go at it. And so you can kind of figure that they've got to have that competitive, it's bred into them. It's all they know. They're just competitive guys. But he won the Trans Miss, Pierceson Coody did, earlier this summer. And after he did, you could see where his head was. He said, this is all part of the plan. This is helping me take that next step. I want to be the number one amateur in the world. So he has his sights set at the highest level. So I think we're only going to hear more and more out of this kid.
Having a grandfather that's a Masters champion too, when I got a chance to talk to him, especially in this interview, it is fascinating how he started in the game along with his brother. So, I think everyone's going to enjoy hearing a little bit of that story. Talk to me about Isaiah Salinda, who went out on top at Stanford, winning a national championship.
Yeah, that would be the dream. I think if you're a senior, you not only does your team win the national championship, but it's in a match play format. And Isaiah, along with his senior teammate Brandon Wu, those guys were both 3-0 in match play. So they, were called up and they delivered and they took home that NCAA title. But I think Salinda should have a good feeling coming back to the U.S. Amateur. He made a semifinal run here, so I think that should give him some confidence. His kind of big thing last summer was winning the Pacific Coast Amateur. He finished, top 15 there this year, so that wasn't huge. I was surprised to see him miss the cut at the North and South, which was also played at Pinehurst No. 2 earlier this summer. So, since the summer season started, he won a regional at the end of his college season. He had that great NCAA performance. He also won the Western Intercollegiate, which is one of the toughest college tournaments on the West Coast. So, it's not as if he's not playing good golf. He didn't win a big summer amateur tournament, but I think, if we're talking about somebody who in the last year has put together a really strong body of work and has been there over and over again, I think Isaiah Salinda is that guy.
Well, and the other thing that you mentioned about this Texas freshman class that is coming back, Stanford has reloaded too. So they have Michael Thorbjornsen, who's a former U.S. junior champion, and Carl Phillips from Australia, who's right up there in the rankings as well. They're coming in as freshmen to Stanford. So I think both those squads could meet up again at the national championship next year.
Wouldn't that be cool if we had a rematch? I would like that.
Yeah, so that'd be fantastic. Well, we're going to catch up later this week when you're on site at Pinehurst at the USAM. Try not to spend so much time in the merchandise tent. Get out there and get some stories so that the listeners can get some insight from you. And we'll do it again soon. And thanks for coming on.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, for the insight. I look forward to speaking with you on the next episode of The Road to Hoylake. Let's get to our conversations with Pierceson and Isaiah. Pierceson, welcome to the back of the range. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Well, I mean, you've had just this whirlwind kind of a summer. You get done with your freshman year at Texas. You run into, you go to the national championship. You make that run all the way to the finals against Stanford. I guess the easiest question right now is, have you had a chance to kind of breathe a little bit and let the summer kind of kick in?
It's been really hectic. With national championship, and then I got a couple weeks off before going up to Wannamoista for the Northeast, but it kind of feels like a blur. Everything just ran together, and now it feels like summer's over. So it's going by so fast. I actually can't believe it.
So I definitely want to hit on the national championship and your freshman year at Texas. Like 2-3 years ago, you're playing junior tournaments locally, and now you're on the Golf Channel playing in the national championship. So we'll unpack and get into all that stuff. But how did you put your summer tournament schedule together coming out of school? Was it something that you kind of already had planned, or did you make any changes based on the fact that it was a Walker Cup year? I'm just kind of curious. You vaulted up 28 spots from 62 to 34 in the world rankings after your win at the Transmiss. You're the 15th ranked American. So I'm just curious, was Walker Cup even on your mind for this summer?
Yeah, it definitely was. It kind of, not that I was thinking about it last year, but I was still technically a junior golfer last year at the beginning of the summer, and I won the Thunderbird Invitational, one of the AJGAs, and kind of moved up. And I wasn't thinking about it then, but before I won that event, I was just outside the top 100 in Wagger. So I was in no tournaments other than AJGA Invitationals, and like Transmiss gave me a spot in the Southern Am, but it's been a fast year. I had a great week. I had a great week down South Beach and moved aside to, I think, the 80th or something in Wagger. And just kept moving up. And kind of after I won that event, I was like, I have so many tournaments in the 2-year Wagger system. If I keep playing well, there's no reason I couldn't put myself in that kind of contention, or at least have a look at Walker Cup. I'm playing with Cole every day, and and Cole's a great player, and I see him play every day, and I know he's going to be on that team. And I would tell myself, there's no reason I can't win a tournament or win a couple tournaments and be right there. So yeah, I've been thinking about it the past, I would say 6 months after I won down in South Beach, and then this Trans-Miss win kind of really helps me, because I had a big kind of slowdown after I won that down in South Beach. I got pretty sick and had to sit out about 5 weeks. So that was a really hard kind of like dent in the process.
Yeah.
And then coming back and trying to play the first few college events, I didn't play well. But then things kind of got better, and yeah, I was lucky enough to pull out the win down in at Trans-Miss.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine just the first year. I mean, your freshman season, you're coming into college. I mean, forget about the fact that you're playing against the best players in the country, but they probably want you to go to a few classes, which is a little bit different than just going to high school. And then you're trying to balance social life. You're trying to balance just new surroundings and new everything. Your twin brother Parker is there along for the ride there with you. You guys are, on the team, both honorable mention All-Americans. Looking back at that first year, how important was it to have your brother there on the same team with you?
It was great. It was kind of the only thing that was familiar at school. Everything changes, but living with him and Cole and then Will Thompson, that was kind of like, it was nice to have like your solid friend group back at your place. So you weren't always like, instead of going to like some random school and you don't know your roommates, that was really settling, knowing that like, all right, we're all communications majors. We're all in pretty similar classes, have the same schedule. We can ride to the golf course, workouts, all that stuff together. So that was really nice to have, just because, UT has 65,000 students, and it's an unbelievably large campus.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And you just feel like the first couple of weeks, you just feel like you're wandering around. So yeah, having my brother there was really, really nice.
It just hit me right here. You're a communications major and you're doing a podcast. You're doing fantastic. Are you getting college credit for this? Is this the only reason you agreed to come on the podcast? Is this just to kind of?
I'm definitely going to save this and show it to all my professors and see if I can count it towards something.
Yes, and they could coach me up too, because I really don't know what the hell I'm doing either. So I'm all about. I mean, if they can, there's like a commuter course or like some sort of an online thing I can take. Just let me know. Have them reach out. So that's perfect.
I will. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh man.
So yeah. So let's talk a little more about family. So your brother is there with you. You guys grew up playing golf, and for people listening, that the name Coody rings a bell. Yes, that is your grandfather, Charles Coody, 1971 Master Champion. I'm sure you've done a handful of interviews where that's gotten brought up, but I like the fact, or I think I'd like you to speak about how you got into the game of golf and maybe confound maybe someone else's perception of what your upbringing in the game would be. Perhaps people would think, oh, well, of course, he's going to have there's a golf club in his crib and he's on the range at the age of 2 and he played his first tournament at 6. And, can you talk about your upbringing in the game of golf along with Parker's?
Yeah. That's everyone's perception is, your granddad, whenever played pro, and then my dad played professionally. He didn't have quite the success, but he still played professionally for eight years and played in college. So everyone has that perception of us just walking out on the range and just having these great swings and just playing golf our whole life, and it's just not true, because we were never forced into it. My granddad got recruited to TCU to play basketball. He was never like a golf star growing up, and he ended up falling in love with golf, and he was lucky enough to make a living out of it. My dad grew up playing other sports, and so Park and I did also. We were always around golf, but I remember at one time I sat down and told my granddad I hated golf when I was about 6 or 7. I was like, I don't want to go to the range. Like he owns a golf course in West Texas, and I was like, I hate golf. I don't want to go to the range today. And he just looked at me, and I think I caught him off guard with it. And he goes, all right, what do you want to do? So he's supportive whenever we do. So we grew up playing football, basketball, baseball, all the way up until high school. And then kind of when we started getting some recruiting letters, and we hadn't really played anything competitive. I mean, I qualified for the U.S. Junior going into 8th grade, or the summer after 8th grade, and that was my first time getting AJGA stars.
Right.
And like, I thought that was the biggest deal ever. And like, I knew so many kids that were like full of on AJGA already, and like, I was just happy getting 4 stars. So there's a little bit of a process that we went through. I mean, you could say we got into it later, but we were around it our whole life, and we were never forced into it, which is why I think it's helped us so much now to want to go practice and want to get better, instead of just someone being all over us all the time about like what we have to do. And so we were very fortunate to be around it growing up and have the upbringing we did.
Yeah, and I think that's great because, like I've said on other episodes, and with there's so many parents that listen to the podcast, and they're trying to figure out how do I help my son or daughter navigate the waters of making that jump from high school to college golf. So, you were recruited by several schools. You ended up at Texas. I know your father played at Texas in the 80s. So I guess maybe what is one piece of advice maybe that you received from, whether it's your dad or your grandfather or maybe other people that you've come in contact with, about making that jump to college golf? Was there ever really any good advice that you kind of received?
I mean, it's really simple. As far as, if you don't believe you belong, then you're not going to make it. You gotta stick with what you know and kind of just go play. If you question why you're there, what you're doing, being a college golfer or pro golfer at any level, whenever you make the jump, if you don't believe you belong there, then you're never going to succeed, I think.
So what you're saying, and if I'm hearing it right, is that whether you're going to a D3 school and you're going to be the big fish there, or if you feel like you want to be at a mid-level, or whatever you decide is where you're at, that's pretty much what you need to target.
Yeah, and you got it. Yeah, exactly. And you just gotta know you belong where you do, and you gotta make the best out of it. You can't. I know I have a lot of friends around golf and stuff, and some of them have doubt. Freshman year they had doubt about how they play and stuff, and they didn't perform that well, even though they're a lot better players than they are. Golf's a finicky game. You just kind of got to keep going with what you got.
So let me ask you about this national championship. You make this run. You guys, first of all, you watch the national championship on TV, and you look at the Blessings course in Arkansas, and just absolutely looks gorgeous. But Oklahoma State had that huge margin of victory in the stroke play portion. How tough was that golf course?
It's really hard. They didn't punch the greens for over a year, so they're insanely firm. Super elevated greens, and then just the bunkers had so much sand in them. You never got a good lie. You really couldn't hit that high quality of fairway bunker shots. It's just, there wasn't anything in your favor other than like soft Zoysia fairways, but everything else was just brutally hard.
So basically, stroke play really kind of identified more of the pitfalls. I mean, if in match play, if you lose a hole, you move on. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
I don't think that told the whole story of that place, just because one team, just kind of went off. It doesn't really share the story. So you get in to match play, and what's, when the match tree kind of comes out, are you looking at the fact that, okay, if we want to kind of get to the finals, there's a very good chance that we're going to be going up against, our Big 12 conference rivals in Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. So did you guys have any look at that, or?
Yeah, that was exactly. We're like, all right, let's go beat Oklahoma and see what we can do next. And Parker had a great week at the national championship. He played really, really well. And we had all finished. And so you have all these OU fans that drove in, and like we had some Texas fans that drove in, and so you have probably 100 people watching. So for 100 people in a college golf event, green being surrounded, it feels like a good amount of people. And he made an awesome about 12-footer for birdie on the 17th hole to take a 1-up lead, and just that was. And so then once we won that match, we're like, all right, Oklahoma. We actually, in the Big 12 match play in the fall, we beat OU in the morning. It's 36 also. We beat OU in the morning and Oklahoma State in the afternoon. And coach just reminded because he goes, "Hey, y'all have already done this once. Let's try and do it again." So in the back of our head, I think that little comment was like, "We've been here, like we've done this. I mean, we beat Oklahoma State before. There's no reason why we couldn't again." And then, I mean, Cole and I got off the hot starts, and I think that was kind of like, that was nice. That was really nice, especially Cole. I mean, he played obviously unreal against Wolf, so that was an awesome match. I got mine done early, and then Spencer Stoosman, I think, played a huge part in keeping Victor Hovland kind of quiet, taking him to 17 green. You get Victor up that point early, and Oklahoma State had just insane amount of people out there watching.
Oh yeah,
and you get all the fans and stuff. So that was huge to kind of keep that match going as long as possible. And then, I mean, Steven Stravoni, our only senior, just I don't know how he made that birdie. However he did it just blows my mind. But it was the most unbelievable moment I've ever experienced in golf.
You mentioned something about your brothers, so I have to ask you, what's worse? You standing over a 15-footer left to right to win a match, or you having to watch your brother try and make a putt like that to win a match?
Oh, watch. 100% watch. I don't know why, but when you're hitting the shot and you're kind of like, you don't think about all the bad things, but when you're watching golf, you can't think about anything but the bad things that could happen.
And it's your brother. I mean, it's terrible.
Makes it so much worse. Like, I want him to do I want everyone to do well. Like, I never would root against someone, but like when it's your brother, it makes it even worse.
Oh, that's got to be insane. So you're, I looked at your matches, that you had against, Quade Cummins in Oklahoma, and then, you fell to him, but then you took down Hayden Wood at Oklahoma State, and then lost to Brandon Wu in the finals. But it's probably not something you were thinking about at the time, but if you look back and you realize, okay, I went up against, two seniors and a redshirt junior, I'm sure the games are all right there and comparable, but is there maybe something that you're seeing in a junior or a senior that you didn't have as a freshman, or maybe something that, okay, that's something I need to work on in the next couple of years? That's something that's missing from my game.
I played great against Quade. I was a couple under par, and Quade just played. I think he was like 4 or 5 under. He played unbelievable.
Yeah.
Same thing with Brandon Wu. He was 4 under bogey free, and I think I was 1 under or even. And they both played great, and it's because they made the birdie putts. They made the 10 to 15 foot birdie putts on tough greens that I wasn't making. There really wasn't much difference ball striking wise. I mean, around the greens, it's just kind of,
it's just golf.
It's just making putts, and it's just kind of all the tour stats and everything leads toward being a great ball striker. But to be a great player, you got to make the putts, and that was really the deciding factors of both matches. Just they made a couple 10 to 15 footers when it counted, and yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I mean, looking at those guys, they have a lot more match play experience, and that's something I'm looking forward to with the Western and kind of getting back into that. And
sure.
I think I can do a lot better now after getting that feel of it, for sure.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about your summer schedule moving forward. You got obviously the Transmiss is all taken care of now. We're talking here towards the end of July. What are your plans for the rest of the summer to kind of make that final push?
I'm not playing the Paco Stand, but it's just Western and then the USAM.
Yeah.
The Walker Cup's always all match play, so both rounds you got to show yourself some stroke play and show that you have the game, and then you also got to capitalize in match play. And it's easy to say, but you just got to go do it. There's not a whole lot stopping.
Yeah, exactly right. You're in the best spot. I mean, you got 2 tournaments in front of you, and it's pretty cut and dry. You do the best you can in those 2 and see where you end up afterwards.
Right, exactly. I'm not worried about it. I'm not one of those guys to dwell on it. Whatever happens, I'm gonna get over it pretty fast. But it's definitely a great opportunity. And if you'd told me a year ago when I was 800 in Wagger, I have a chance to make this Walker Cup team, I would be more than happy. So I'm excited to go play the next couple weeks.
That's awesome. Well, You mentioned your teammate Cole Hammer, that guy.
May know him.
That guy, yeah, he number one ranked in the world. Practicing and playing with him every day, getting to know him and how he approaches it. Of course, I'd imagine you guys kind of have the fact that you both have been in the spotlight, whether it's you walking onto a golf course and the family lineage and maybe getting a lot of attention for that early on. And then obviously, Cole playing in the U.S. Open at 15, he's been dealing with that for a long time. Are there things that maybe you guys share that perhaps two teammates of another program probably couldn't share that maybe have helped you along the way or helped him along the way, just being around someone that's been in the spotlight for such a long time?
And we're great friends. I think it's helpful for both of us to be on the same team together because he's obviously a great player, and I would like to think I'm pretty decent sometimes. So
come on,
I love watching Cole around the greens. It's actually like one of the most ridiculous things you'll ever watch in golf. So I'm always kind of watching him and seeing what he's doing, and it's been great so far. And I think we have a really kind of great year ahead of us. Having Cole there with us, we have a lot of the hype and attention around our team, but I don't think it's any one of the guys on our team aren't used to. Everyone was pretty highly recruited, but it's been a great team, and I'm really excited about next year.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch you guys coming in for your sophomore season. Whether it's there's a lot of really storied programs, or there's Oklahoma State obviously, and Stanford, and Texas has got to be right there with the people that have come through that program, whether it be obviously Dylan Fratelli just picked up a win, and Jordan Speed obviously, and Justin Leonard and Estes and Crenshaw and Kite, and we can go all the way down the line. Has there been a moment, or have there been a couple moments where you've actually had the chance to spend some time with a former UT golfer where, obviously your dad played there and your grandfather's history, but did it ever kind of hit you a little bit? Okay, I'm part of this very distinguished list of, I'm in the UT family now, and that really hit home. Did maybe a situation where you ran into a former player kind of solidify that for you?
They have a big All-American wall with, countless names on it and all this stuff. And whenever I was doing recruiting visits, that was my favorite thing to go look at. And I would always go in there and kind of look at that wall. And Parker Cole and I are going to be on that wall, and that's going to be a really surreal moment of I'm in this program forever. And just showing up the first day, down to our facility and seeing obviously my name on the locker and getting my UT bag is this is real. This finally happened. I'm going to be a part of the Longhorns, forever. So that's, I'd say really early on freshman year, just getting that bag was just kind of the final moment of realizing it's all happening.
I think that is something that any young player, I remember it way back when I got my bag in college golf, and we're not going to talk about when that was, Pierceson, because we're not going to do that. So, and my bag didn't have any Longhorns on it. Let's just say that. But but getting the bag is still a thing, no matter what level you're at. Whether you make an AJGA All-Star team, or you make or any sort of invitation, getting a bag is still a big deal, isn't it?
It was a big deal. When I won my first AJGA, I loved that bag to death. When I played in the next highest level invitational, I loved that bag and used it until I played in the next highest. And getting the UT bag, it's great. It's more important to me than getting any invitational or AJGA bag, just because it has such a lifelong meaning to it. But sticking with the bag thing, if I end up being a pro and everything, getting that staff bag with my name on it is going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
So getting the bag just kind of symbolizes where you are in golf, and it's just kind of a nice confidence thing, I guess.
And no, you're 100% right. It doesn't matter how old you get. So let's get you out on one last question. I know you got to get out there and get practicing, get playing today, and get going. I'm sure you can't talk to me all day unless you're going for doctorate points with your communications degree. But so let's put you and Parker together on the same team. Alternate shot. You can't pick anyone on the current Texas team, but who would you two like to go play against in an alternate shot match of UT former players? Who would you want to play against?
JP or John Paul Hebert is our assistant.
Yeah.
I would love to see JP and my dad together.
Oh my God! You want a piece of your coach and your dad?
I think that. I mean, no matter what it came out to be, I don't know how well they'd play, but it'd be it'd be a lot of fun seeing that.
That's awesome.
For sure.
That's awesome. Well, Pierceson, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today. I know that you got the next two big ones on the calendar. You got the Western, you got the USAM, making that final push. I wish you the best of luck along with this summer, and then obviously next season at Texas. And enjoy the rest of your summer, and best of luck to you.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Pierceson. All the best to you at the USAM and at Texas next year. Our next guest, graduate of Stanford University, national champion, Isaiah Salinda, national champion. How's it sound?
Oh, it sounds awesome. Never get tired of it.
Well, cool. It was funny. You know, I talked to you and Brandon Wu right around, I believe we spoke around like February of this year.
February.
Yeah, and you guys had just kind of started your spring season, and I kind of got the vibe that you guys were, I guess, kind of treading water, so to speak. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. We didn't have the best fall season, and I think after the end of the fall season, we dropped outside the top like 30 or 40 in the rankings, which was, kind of unheard of for Stanford golf, at least in like recent memory. So we knew we had some work to do over the off season, but, we knew how good we were and how good we could be. We just had to kind of be patient and keep working at it.
Yeah. And, I think the last time that you guys didn't win as a team was, I believe it was right around Vegas, which was, I think, March area. And then after that, you guys just go in this great run, winning your home tournament. And you guys, you individual at the Western Intercollegiate.
Mm-hmm.
What does it take to get on a run like that? And how much belief did you have in your teammates that allowed that whole thing to happen? Because as I said, it's your senior year. You're trying to go out with a bang, but you see it not happening, and you see things are kind of flat. When does it all change and you guys just get on this run?
Yeah, I think you said it. I think belief is a big thing. It's a powerful thing in team sports and in college golf. And you just have to do your part to try and play your best and contribute to the team. But Brandon and Brandon got off to a great start in the spring, and then that kind of motivated me, and I knew that I needed to start playing better, and was able to figure some things out and started playing better. And, we just believed in the other guys too, that they would, be there when we needed them. And they played great. We have a deep team, and, we just needed those guys to step up, and they did at the right time.
I'm not going to go through the Pac-12 championship, which you guys won as well, but, we go to this national championship. You had a great stroke play session where you finished tied for 6th, and then you guys actually get into the match play portion, top 8 teams. You're the 6th seed, and I think if a lot of people look at some of the matches that went on, they'll look at, maybe your match against Cole Hammer in the finals, maybe Cole Hammer's match against Matthew Wolf, where that was just a crazy front nine that those two went on. Hammer actually won that match. But I have to ask you about the match that I watched live, and it was your quarterfinal match against Wake Forest, Eugenio Chikara. He's a freshman, but he was the ACC Freshman of the Year. And there are listeners that are not going to understand what that match was like. They'll just see that, Salinda won it. Yeah, that's great. Can you just share with listeners a little bit about that match? Because I think it's incredible.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild match. I got off to kind of a tough start, made a couple bogeys early on, and then, Eugenio played really well on the front nine. He probably made like 3 or 4 birdies. And but after the 9th hole, I found myself 4 down through 9, which, sounds like, not impossible to come back from, but it's a pretty big margin in match play with 9 holes left. But, I had Coach Ray walking with me that match, and, he kind of gave me a pep talk at the turn and told me to, stay positive and try to turn this thing around 1 hole at a time. and I won the 10th hole. Our 10th hole, I made like a 25-footer for birdie to win that hole, and then from there, I just, the momentum kind of switched in my favor a little bit, and I won. I think I won 6 straight holes.
You did.
Yeah, I won 6 straight holes, and I think I won like 3-2, 3-1 or something.
You won 3-1. You're just like you said, you were 4 down through 9. I've never seen anything like that. Have you ever seen or been involved in anything like that at all?
I've never come back from 4 down. That's match play though.
Yeah.
Things can switch, after one shot, after one hole. And once I started, hitting it better and made some putts, just kind of put the pressure on him and, was able to put together a good back 9 to win that match.
The reason I wanted to bring up that Chikara was a freshman, you're obviously senior, graduated, and, this is you're looking at this as your last round, possibly in the Stanford Cardinal. You mentioned just like one hole at a time, chipping away at it, putting pressure on him. Did you notice anything in his body language? Were you aware of him maybe just kind of losing control or losing confidence, or were you just kind of blinders on doing your own thing?
Yeah, I don't really think you can do that in match play. I think you have to be aware of your opponent. You have to pay attention to what he's doing, and I paid attention to his body language for sure. And after I won 2 or 3 holes, I think there was one hole where I kind of got up and down for par or something, and it was a hole that I probably shouldn't have won, but I ended up winning that hole, and I could tell he was. He's a freshman, he's never been in that position before, national championship. So, naturally he's probably a little bit flustered, and, I kind of saw that and, just tried to keep it going. So, yeah, I think you have to pay attention to that in match play.
You go undefeated in the match play portion, just like Brandon did actually. And, you win 3-2 against Patrick Martin from Vanderbilt. And then you are in the finals, and you're playing Texas, and you're up against Cole Hammer, freshman of the year, and he's been used to pressure situations, played in the U.S. Open when he was 15. First of all, let's go back to what time the final match started. How early what was the wake-up call to get ready for that final match?
Oh, man, it was probably 4:30.
So they moved it up because of the weather.
Yeah. They moved the tee times up to, I think I want to say the first match was at 6:30.
Oh, God.
They're maybe even earlier. I don't remember, but I was off before 7 for sure, I think. And yeah, the sun had just gone up, and it was an early wake up call. But I mean, when you're playing in the finals for a national championship, you're not. It doesn't matter what time it is, or how tired you are.
Sure.
So.
Well, you guys are just running on adrenaline right there. Do you go to Coach Ray and say, I want to go off first, or I want to go off third, or I want a piece of, one of the Coody boys, or how does that go?
Yeah, I really had no input. I don't think any of the guys really had any input in it. We kind of trusted Coach to get the matchups and get the favorable matchups that we wanted. And I think it worked out great.
Well, you beat Cole Hammer 4-3, so that's, just such, 3 incredibly impressive match play victories for this being a Walker Cup year, and, that's, what you're targeting. Couldn't be more important than that. Right now you're the 10th ranked American in the World Amateur Golf Rankings. What has been maybe your strategy this summer? What have you tried to do to kind of come back down from the high of winning a national championship, but also kind of peak at the right time going into the USAM next week?
Yeah, I think, definitely took a little bit of a break after NCAAs. I've just been focusing on, kind of just doing the little things right, trying to get a routine down this summer to kind of prepare for pro golf. Like I said, the routine down, seeing my coach, figuring out what I need to work on in my swing, and also, just trying to get my body right for all the golf that I will probably be playing the rest of the year and next year. So I think that's been the key. Not taking it, not putting my body through too much, in terms of tournaments, but just trying to do the little things to get ready for all the golf that's ahead.
You mentioned, kind of taking it easy this summer and resting up, maybe, decompressing the brain a little bit from all these amateur tournaments you're playing. What is maybe something you've done this summer that just completely outside the spectrum of golf that maybe someone on the outside looking in would be a little surprised to hear?
I mean, yeah, I didn't really go on any like graduation trips. I know a bunch of my friends went to Europe or Asia after graduation,
Nice.
before work starts, but I didn't really have that. I mean, I took a trip to Minneapolis to hang out with my girlfriend and her family there, and we were actually at the 3M Open when
really? What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I was there when Matt and Colin were in the final group, and it was pretty awesome watching them. I was just being a total fan outside the ropes. They were pretty surprised to see me. But,
okay, so they didn't know you were going to be there.
No, they had no idea. I was just there watching, and it was pretty funny though. I mean, they're the nicest guys. I played with them quite a bit in college, and couldn't be happier for them. So it was cool to be there and see that.
Did you like pull the prank of like going up and, excuse me, Mr. Wolf, can I have your autograph, and just like him like blindly just sign something and not even look up at who it is? Or
well, as soon as they saw me, they were like, they knew. They were like, "What are you doing here?" They were kind of surprised. But I had them each like sign a golf ball for my girlfriend's little cousin,
nice,
who's a baseball fan. So yeah, they're definitely they were doing it for the fans that week for sure.
Nice. I'm curious, and I think it's interesting, just all this young crop that's coming up, whether it's Colin Morikawa and Wolf and Hovland, and these are the guys that you play with just less than 6 months ago. Does it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's giving you motivation when you're going to get out there and turn pro and chase it, but it just has to be such an incredible. You just look at these guys and they're inside the ropes. You're like, wait a minute, I just saw you getting off of a van, carrying your own stand bag and eating, a sandwich at in between rounds. But that's where you want to be pretty soon as well.
Yeah, you said it. I was, I played with both of them at NCAAs in the stroke play part, and then, like a month later, or less than a month later, they were, winning tournaments on tour. So, it's definitely motivating. I mean, I was at the time in Minneapolis watching them. I was definitely a little bit jealous, to be honest, but, definitely motivating. I want to be out there doing what they're doing and competing with them, on tour. So that's the goal.
To go out in your senior season, with a degree in one hand and a trophy and a ring in the other, I think you did. I think you and Brandon, and I think you guys did it right. I think it's incredible how you guys capped that career at Stanford, and you got Walker Cup. How long was Walker Cup kind of on your radar? I mean, is it something that has been a target for you for quite some time? I mean, it's basically, I'm guessing this is the last step after this USAM next week and Walker Cup. I mean, you're turning pro, I assume.
Yeah, definitely been on my mind, on my radar since the practice session in December. That was really cool to be a part of, to be with all those guys. And ever since then, I think, it was a no-brainer for me to wait a few more months before turning pro, just to see if I could make the team and, do everything I could to make the team. There's no greater honor in amateur golf than playing for your country, in the Walker Cup. So yeah, I thought it was definitely worth waiting for.
Yeah. So I'll ask you a final question. You're coming up to your final USAM at Pinehurst. Any experience at Pinehurst, or just kind of what are your thoughts going into this USAM? You've had great success there in the past. I know you clipped your buddy Hagestad there last year at Pebble. So you're probably going to see him out there too. So what are your thoughts going into Pinehurst?
I'm just really excited to play. My last USAM and at Pinehurst. Which I hadn't played number 2 or number 4 until earlier this summer when I played in the North and South. It was my first time seeing the courses, and it's definitely tough. I think it's going to be a really good test. I think going into the greens, you have to be really, really precise with your irons, just with how the greens are shaped. and how penalizing it is around the green. So yeah, I'm just really excited to start the week and hopefully make match play and see how far I can go.
Well, I think it's a nice way to cap off the amateur career. Congrats on getting that national championship at Stanford, and then getting that degree. And how happy are you not to be doing any studying and schoolwork for a little while?
Oh, it's amazing! It's a great feeling. I mean, it was definitely a grind for 4 years, and now it's like I have nothing academic to worry about. It's kind of a relief, but it's pretty great. It's just more time for golf,
Yeah,
so,
you can let the brain breathe a little bit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Isaiah, congrats again on all your success at Stanford. Enjoy the USAM, and make that final push for the Walker Cup. All the best to you, and we'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Isaiah Salinda. Congrats on your national championship at Stanford. Good luck at the U.S. Amateur. Also, thanks to Pierceson Coody and Julie Williams from AmateurGolf.com. Enjoy the U.S. Amateur. We'll see you again later this week on the Road to Hoylake, here at the back of the range.